Tonight, we begin with a CVM television investigation. Calls placed to the country's National Child Abuse Reporting Hotline not being answered immediately. Then we'll change gears and focus our attention on the fact that the country is the former Prime Minister of Jamaica, that is Bruce Golding, had very strong words about Jamaica's relationship with the United States. We'll try to get some views on that. And then the opposition PNP still attacking the government over the handling of the new social housing program, saying that it's robbing Jamaicans of their dignity. We'll get some reactions to that as well. And finally, before we close out this evening, we'll turn our attention to the state visit of the President of Ghana to Jamaica. This is Lead Story. I'm Tyrone Reed. Thanks so much for staying with us inside Lead Story this evening. We want to begin things today by looking at a CVM television investigation, looking into whether or not the hotline to receive calls for child abuse cases, the numbers the public, would have to utilize in order to report suspected cases of child abuse for an investigation to ensue. Those numbers were put to the test by our news team. We have a report lined up for you looking at the results. We can advise you that based on CVM's calls placed to the 211 number, and of course an alternative number that was provided by the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, the CPFSA, those two numbers, 10 calls placed to the 211 number, 9 of those calls went unanswered immediately, and of course one of those calls answered. 90% of those calls not answered. And the alternative number provided by the CPFSA, those 10 of the 10 calls, no answer. Let's have a watch of what transpired as we put the numbers to the test. This is often the first step in protecting a vulnerable child. On July 3 this year, the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, issued a notice advising that its 211 child abuse reporting hotline was temporarily unavailable. Persons were directed to continue making reports through an alternative WhatsApp number 876-878-2882, an email address, or at any CPFSA office across the island. However, reaching the Child Protection and Family Services Agency took multiple attempts despite the alternative channels provided. Approximately 10 calls were made to the reporting channels provided by the CPFSA, with a response only received on the 10th attempt. This means 90% of the calls made went unanswered. For child protection advocates, delays in accessing reporting systems are a major concern.
Child abuse cases, time is everything. Every minute of delay can mean a child stays longer in danger. So when parents, teachers, or even children themselves try to report and can't get through, it sends the wrong message that their cry for help doesn't matter. There must be a system in place that is fully staffed for 24/7 reports being made.
Duhaney says while the interruption of a service line may happen, systems must have the resources needed to respond to the volume of reports being made.
While we can appreciate also specifically that the numbers are overwhelming, considering about 14,602 cases have been reported to the child registry in 2025. We cannot afford for a system, and we know that this is a lot of cases. So the resources have to be adequate in order to deal and address with quite a number of these issues.
Responding to the concerns, Dr. Warren Thompson, Director of the Intake Investigations and Court Services Division of the CPFSA, says he understands the frustration of anyone who experiences delays when contacting the child abuse reporting line.
Taking child abuse reports, as simple as it seems, is a highly specialized and dynamic process, with each report requiring varying levels of time and intervention. Our specially trained registration officers provide empathy and support, often calming distressed callers, sensitively interviewing children who are making reports, and in some cases, implementing immediate emergency interventions while the call is in progress. As a result, officers may be engaged for extended periods before becoming available to answer the next call. Persons who experience difficulty getting through to us via 211 may also submit reports by WhatsApp at 876-878-2882 or by email at report@childprotection.gov.jm.
For child advocates, protecting children starts with ensuring that every report of abuse is acted on without delay. Tyrone Reed. That report there, of course, that we aired on Friday. We have with us Priscilla Duhenny. She's the director of Hear the Children's Cry. It's a child rights lobby group here in Jamaica. Priscilla Duhenny, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us right here inside Lead Story.
Thank you for having me. Just one correction. I'm not a director of Hear the Children's Cry, but I'm definitely the spokesperson and an attorney at law.
All right, so spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry. Thank you so much, Ms. Duhenny. How concerned are you by what our investigations uncovered? 9 of the 10 calls placed to the 211 number went unanswered, and 10 of the calls to the alternative number went unanswered. So 100% of the calls went unanswered to that alternative number provided by the CPFSA. How concerned are you about that?
Well, we are very concerned. As a matter of fact, outside of the attempt that was made here, we also, from last week, saw this brewing as an issue. And we also made an attempt here at Hear the Children's Cry to see if it is that what we were hearing and that was what was being reported, we could confirm for ourselves, and we also had unanswered calls. So it is not something that it is even just merely a talk, but it is actually factual. It is what we have experienced. And this is certainly an issue that must be addressed, and immediately too. If it is that we are expecting those that are vulnerable or those persons that have been vested with responsibility of care and protection of our children and are to report matters to CPFSA and they are not getting through, then the lifeline is basically cut off, because you cannot report to an entity where they're not answering the phone calls. You have no real alternative because no one responds to the messages or the complaints and the reports that are being made. And if it is that you cannot report or channel your concerns to these entities or this entity particularly, then what are you supposed to do? Most times people will take it that there is silence and nobody cares and they will not try again. And so this delay will increase the risk of our children being endangered and continue to be in danger.
Of course, we should tell our viewers that we did invite a representative from the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, the CPFSA, to be with us. I think the most we got out of them was that they were prepared to send us a statement. I'm not certain if we have received that statement as yet. If we do, we'll try to read the contents to you. But Priscilla Duhenny, as a spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry, if you did say in that news item we played earlier that in the event that there can be a volume of calls, a heavy volume of calls, and that can lead to calls not being answered. It can also mean that a line might go down, technical issues might arise, but if you offer an alternative number and there's also a difficulty with that, is that saying to us that the problem is far greater than perhaps the CPFSA is prepared to admit publicly?
Absolutely, because one of the things that we have recognized is that, and we have to acknowledge this, we believe that there's a high volume of calls. The numbers are telling us that there are a lot of child care and protection cases. There are a lot of situations right now, matters that are taking over Jamaica concerning the safety of our children. And so we have to understand that possibly, and it is likely, that the CPFSA cannot manage. They are understaffed. They probably don't have enough trained staff. They do not have the resources and the funding to keep up. And we have to remember that over the years, because of the increased number of these types of cases, maybe the resources are not being multiplied or even maintained to ensure that they are meeting the volume of calls that they're getting per day and the reports. So it's not just the calls, but you also have to think about the fact that there is a response team that should be dispatched to monitor someone to ensure that they're managing the case files. And so these are some of the things that will likely happen and affect results, successful results, if these calls are not being answered, if the alternative methods are not also doing the work, which is providing any form of success for those who are calling. And so, as I said, what they need to look at is, one, probably add more alternative methods to make sure that reports and complaints are reaching.
Priscilla Dehaney, I was going to let you go. Actually, I did tell the studio that we're going to let you go at 6:15, but I'm going to ask you just to hold, because there is a short clip that we want to play showing what really happened when we attempted to play. So just hold the line. When we come back for about the next 2 minutes or so, we're going to talk with Priscilla Dehaney. She is a spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry about the CVM television investigation. Soon come.
Of the Caribbean lies a beacon of financial opportunity. Welcome to Jamaica, where beauty and vibrance meet business and innovation. At the forefront of making Jamaica a robust financial hub, the Jamaica International Financial Services Authority leads the charge with trust and integrity.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane.
Welcome back. This is Lead Story. I'm Tyrone Reed. We're talking about a CVM TV investigation in which calls were placed to this reporting hotline that the Child Protection and Family Services Agency, CPFSA, operates, the 211 number. There's also a WhatsApp number that was provided after that 211 number went down. They're having some technical issues, and that number is also posing some difficulties in the receiving of calls to report suspected child abuse cases. We have with us, of course, Priscilla Duhaney. She's the spokesperson for Hear the Children's Cry. And I wanted to close with this one. I wanted to show you a video of us actually making the calls. We're having some technical issues with that. But Priscilla Duhaney, I want to ask you this. Do you think this warrants an investigation? This whole business of the calls not being answered. Should an investigation be conducted by the parent ministry of the CPFSA?
Absolutely. Yes, I believe there should be an investigation, because whilst we are here speculating and we can come up with a myriad of reasons why this phone might not be answered or the alternative methods are not working, an investigation will give you accurate data as to what is happening internally and for them to address it, because for you to solve a problem, you must be able to identify what the problems are. And we believe, as I said before, staffing may be a problem, lack of funding. And I believe sometimes we need to look at other NGOs, even like Hear the Children's Cry. We are looking at, and we are hoping that the government can push out some funds to us so we can assist in offloading some of the work that is obviously too much and too high for CPFSA.
Priscilla Duhaney, spokesperson of Hear the Children's Cry. Thank you so very much for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it. Indeed. All right, let's change gears a bit. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golding is reigniting debate over Jamaica's relationship with the United States, arguing Washington's recent demands and policies are placing undue pressure, he says, on Jamaica and other Caribbean states. Golding says a relationship built on friendship must be grounded in mutual respect, not ultimatums. Let's have a listen.
New tariffs were imposed on us in January of last year. Tariffs on the goods that we export to America. Although America enjoys a huge trade surplus with Jamaica. What we export to the United States is less than a quarter of what we import from the United States. Countries and companies that do business with Cuba run the risk of incurring severe penalties. We are being forced to contribute to the strangulation of the Cuban people who have helped us in so many ways. But Cuba is not the only friend we have that we are being told not to keep company with anymore.
The voice there, and of course the image that you saw there, is of the country's former Prime Minister Bruce Golding, known to be one to speak his mind. We're being joined by political commentator Nadine Spence, Dr. Nadine Spence, who is going to be sharing her views with us on this subject matter. Dr. Spence, welcome once again to Lead Story. Bruce Golding is saying the quiet part out loud once again. This is something that needed to be said, is it?
It is. It needed to be said, and we wanted it to be said. There was a time when Jamaica said these things out loud, but we suffered the consequences for it. And so I think that over the years in our dealings with the United States, especially when the United States has gone through these moments of Republican leadership when the country has been quite hostile in many respects. It's racial politics, it's gender politics, its identity politics is problematic at this point, and it has a president who doesn't know how to play the game of diplomacy, or who doesn't know how to treat its allies, or who has no respect for any country other than perhaps Israel. And in the face of that, a number of countries have kind of like hunkered down and have decided to try their best to not earn the attention of a rather erratic president and a diplomacy that that is problematic. And we're friends, as Mr. Golding says, the United States no longer has friends.
Yeah, it's an unusual brand of diplomacy that Donald Trump espouses. Could there be any backlash from this, Dr. Spence, given that this is a former prime minister? Could there be any backlash?
Well, you don't have to do anything to earn Donald Trump's anger. Even if you stay quiet, there's no safe space. There's no safe space with this, but I think that this needed to be said. I think Jamaican people need to understand what is at stake, so that when our government takes a decision that some people might think is not, it doesn't make us feel our best sovereign self, they can understand why perhaps the government is hunkering down and keeping its head under the
parapet, as it were, below the parapet, as it were.
Yeah, but so I think Bruce Golding is putting himself out there as he's not in the government, he's a former PM, and he's saying the things that need to be said. Hopefully nothing happens. I think the government is trying their very best, as other governments across the region, to ride this out. We have another 3 years left in this presidency. It's 3 or 2? 2 years? 2.5 years left in this presidency. I think across the world, particularly for countries like ours that are small and vulnerable and that are located where we are in relation to the US, I think countries like ours are trying our very best not to turn Donald Trump's attention to us. So yeah, your question is, is it wise for him to say this? There are some people who will say it's not, but I think the population needs to hear that kind of assessment.
Absolutely. It's the quiet part that needed to be said out loud. And I was trying to reach for a phrase that I usually use to describe Donald Trump's approach to diplomacy, and it's disruptive. This diplomacy, that's the kind of diplomacy he seems to espouse. But as the Andrew Holness administration, because clearly they can't be the ones to say this, as they continue to keep their heads below that geopolitical parapet that you just described, do you think this intervention by the former Prime Minister Bruce Golding helps or hurts the relationship with the U.S. under Donald Trump? Because you're saying there's no safe space. So either way, you're saying it's not going to be good for Jamaica.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I could say, boy, it's Bruce Golding and it's not government. So chances are there's nothing to be said. There's no repercussions. But the only thing we can say now is that perhaps Donald Trump and his cabinet and his people are so busy with the Iran war and how this is unfolding, and the global politics and the national politics in the US, with him losing popularity, with the Republicans at risk in the midterms, that he has no choice but to pay attention to the several fires that he has to tend to.
Dr. Spence, how do you think this was received by the Holness administration, this intervention?
Well, the way I see it, what said needed to be said. because the government has taken a lot of flack for especially that third country national policy. And a lot of people, when this news story broke, we didn't understand what it was about. We didn't understand what was at play, and until eventually the news came out as to what the real situation was. And I think this critique by Bruce Golding gives Jamaicans another kind of explanation as to how this thing is being played out, as to how US-Jamaican relationship or US-Caribbean relationship is being played out.
Right.
So, I think the government is perhaps thinking, well, I mean, needed to be said, we needed somebody to say it. Let's hope this statement flies under Donald Trump and his cabinet's radar, and let's hope nothing comes as a result. But within the Jamaican space, as I said before, among citizens, that needed to be said.
Exactly, which is the point, which is my next question I wanted to put to you. It's the audience that this is meant for. Clearly, it perhaps isn't meant for the United States. It's meant for the people of Jamaica to understand that geopolitically, this is what the Holness administration is coming up against. So if that is the plot or the plan, then clearly the Holness administration might think of this as something good.
Yes, I mean, they can't say it. The Minister of Foreign Affairs cannot say it. The Prime Minister cannot say it. No senior member of government can say it. They cannot admit to what Bruce Golding has said. But Bruce Golding has said it. And so now it throws another explanation, another narrative in the pot. And I think he knew that it needed to be said because of what has happened since the story broke in Jamaica and what has happened amongst the diaspora members as well, because I don't know, even our relatives and so on in the US have been confused as to why the government is playing this game. What is it about? What has happened? My relatives have asked me, what does this mean? Why is Jamaica accepting people who have asked for refugees? Why is it or deportees from other countries? Yeah. What is happening? So I think there was a lot of confusion about it.
Indeed, and the government of the day has taken quite a beating on that particular issue. I have less than a minute, Dr. Spence, but I have to ask you this one. This whole business of, and perhaps a few years ago, pre the Donald Trump era, this question perhaps wouldn't have arisen, but do you think Bruce Golding might suffer any consequences for being so vocal on this issue?
No, I think Bruce Golding is making it known that within the Caribbean, he wants to present the other side to this US-Caribbean relationship. And so I think the role he's playing now is more one of somebody...
An outspoken elder statesman.
Yes. So right, he's not bothered by that.
I'm going to have to bring you back on this one, Dr. Spence, as we continue watching. But thank you so much for the time and the thoughts. No, Dr. Spence is sticking and staying with us. She's not leaving, by the way, yes. But we're going to change gears to another issue. More lead story after these.
Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30. Watch Walking on the Word with Apostle Professor J. Andrew Scott every Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m.
An apostle, cause 3 contracts to be released to you. So as of tonight, the realm of the supernatural is active and activated to cause 3 contracts. Pow! 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 In Jesus' name.
I'm me the style is no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, no charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Welcome back. Thanks so much for sticking and stay with us right here inside Lee's story. A house meant to provide hope and a sense of belonging has become the epicenter of a political debate. The opposition is criticizing the government's decision to place permanent plaques bearing the Prime Minister's name on homes built under the new social housing program, arguing that taxpayer-funded assistance should not carry political branding. Still with us is Dr. Nadine Spence, and we hope to be joined by Dr. Angela Brown-Burke of the People's National Party. Dr. Spence, you've heard the criticism. I've thought about it myself, and it makes me a little uneasy. I must admit, I'm not certain I've arrived at a position in my own mind as yet, but it does make me a little nervous, as they say out in the streets. But do you think this should happen, Dr. Spence? Should we give houses to individuals with these plaques on them? Should any visitor to their house know that this house was donated to them by the government?
You know, so I think, so I have two positions on it. One is I don't think it should be branded. I don't see the need for it. And I'm still thinking it through. I don't see the need for it. I can't understand why putting a plaque on a house that is gifted to a citizen that says, I'm not sure what is on the plaque. I don't see the necessity of it.
You don't see the necessity of the plaque, or you don't see the necessity of the furore? Which one?
The necessity of the plaque. I just don't. I don't.
Do you think it dehumanizes the recipient?
Not at all. I wouldn't. That's the other point that I was going to say. I think I don't see the necessity of it. I don't agree with it. I don't think it dehumanizes or removes dignity from people. I just don't think that it is necessary. I can't find what would the why would you need to? And so for that reason, I don't agree with it. But I don't think that a correct thing to say is that it is a political plaque. It's the Prime Minister, when the Prime Minister acts as the Prime Minister of Jamaica, is the Prime Minister, and it's not a political party. It should be seen as a political partisan operative. So I have an issue with that.
Because he's the Prime Minister of all of Jamaica, is what you're saying. So he shouldn't be seen as a politically divisive figure in that role and function.
No, in that capacity, he's not operating from the space of the JLP. He's operating as the Prime Minister of Jamaica, who the people of Jamaica elected to.
The head of government, yes.
And so if it was that this was another government in power, I have to ask myself, would I have a challenge with it or would I support it? And I would feel the same way. I just don't see the need for it. If there's a reason that I can get that is put forward as to, a legitimate reason, I don't know what it is. I've been thinking about it. I can't think of a reason that would legitimize the need for that kind of labeling. But I just think it shouldn't be done. I can't see why. I
think I'm sensing from you, Dr. Spence, that there's an underlying issue that you have fundamentally with it being there. I'm not certain if you are expressing what that reason is, but could it be connected to this whole business of people should be, even if they're receiving a gift from their government, everybody who comes to their house shouldn't be able to tell that this home was a gift from the government. I think that is perhaps where as we'd say in Jamaica, it gets a little ticklish.
It gets, if I fell on hard times and I had to ask the government for help, and let's say the help was you had to build me a house. And if you had to give me the house, I would be happy and I wouldn't mind you putting a plaque on it because I'm in need, right? I'm in dire need, but I don't want to feel as if it's charity. I don't want to feel as if I had to beg. I want to feel as if as a Jamaican, I'm in a vulnerable situation and my people came to my rescue. And that's it.
But it shouldn't be branded as such. I don't think it shouldn't be branded as such. Yeah. No one should come to your piece of the rock and at a glance should be able to tell that this house was gifted to you. I think there is a kind of a slightly, even if not intended, a slight trampling on the dignity of the recipient in that regard. Actually, I was having this conversation with someone today. Go ahead.
Perhaps that's it. I think I could revisit that and say, perhaps we shouldn't, when we have to lend assistance to people for whatever reason. I think he's right. The word I would use is we shouldn't seek to exploit their need, and we shouldn't seek to compromise their dignity.
I was having this conversation with someone today, a colleague actually, and the person raised the possibility of other entities having the houses that they donate to individuals, that there's some kind of branding. I've never seen it myself. I'm not certain if you are aware.
I was going to say, Tyrone, that I think if you look at what some other agencies or entities do when they give help, they do the exact same thing, but I think they're different. I wouldn't think that they need to, but they're different. This is our government working for us. This is what the government is supposed to do. It's not charity.
No, but even those established entities, we perhaps need to challenge as well, Dr. Spence. Because, for example, there are certain entities that would ask for support for programs to fund relief efforts and assistance to try and feed those who are hungry in certain parts of the world. And there's been pushback now on some of these videos that traditionally there wasn't any pushback on, because now it's being said, look, you're exploiting the vulnerability of these individuals that you're using in these videos. So even those things that were accepted traditionally, you're now seeing pushback on. And I'm saying, going forward, is this what we need to be modeling, or should we seek to model a modus operandi that leaves people with their dignity?
It's true. It's true. Tyrone, it's true. Because something? After the holidays, after Hurricane Melissa, I had to go to my community to lend assistance. And one of the things I profoundly had an issue with, a kind of visceral kind of rejection of me taking pictures of my community people in Kilmarnock and putting it up on my social media. I really couldn't bring myself to do it. I couldn't bring myself to giving out care packages and taking pictures. I thought it was undignified. Both of myself as a fellow community member seeking to help my neighbors, and then putting it up there for what? I mean, that's what I'm expected to do. You know, I don't need to get any praise. I don't need to get any recognition for it. And that's what good neighbors do. And I don't need to tell people that I'm a good neighbor. It is for my satisfaction. It is for me being a good person and a good citizen. I don't need to advertise it. And I've always, to be honest, taken issue with whether it's a politician or it's especially after Melissa, we saw this happening a lot, where a lot of people went out to feed the starving people, the same way we used to talk about poverty porn. Or, you know, when you have people who are hungry and look like they're suffering and people give them a bag of something or something, and then who feels better from that exchange, you know? So I agree. I think I'm very much supportive of Dr. Angela Burke in this. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's what a government does for its people. And I think the plaque, I was trying to find, you know, what possible reasons could we have for putting, I don't know.
We're almost out of time, but you mentioned the word there, and I need to squeeze this in before we have to go. You mentioned the word there about being a good neighbor, and the principle may very well be of biblical proportions, Dr. Spence, that if you're doing good, you should not sound a trumpet whenever you're doing good. That is the message that was delivered many, many years ago by the good Lord Jesus. But it's a principle of biblical proportions. There are people who disagree with it. They think they need to do it. But the question is, are we actually trampling upon the dignity of those who are receiving the aid? And it's something to detain our thoughts, yeah? It's something to detain our thoughts. We have to leave it there. We're out of time, Dr. Spence. But as always, we thank you for the time and the thoughts. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tyrone.
Indeed. This is Lead Story. We take the break right here and come back with more.
Pass your CSEC CAPE exams to get that dream job or to qualify for university? Then Distinction College is the school for you. We have locations in Kingston, Spanish Town, St. Elizabeth and Ocho-Rios. Start day, evening and Saturday classes this coming term and sit CSEC CAPE exams for January's resit or May-June. Maths, law, science, English. We have the lowest school fees. Register before the end of the month and win an entire term free. Call us at 354-8560.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Hi, I am Candy Pang.
Watagwan.
Watagwan.
Datagwan.
Watagwan. Watagwan.
Watagwan. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m., and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
Datagwan pa Watagwan.
Welcome back. Thanks so very much for sticking and staying with us right here inside Lead Story. In the closing segment this evening, Jamaica is hosting Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama for a 4-day state visit, marking a significant milestone in the long-standing relationship between the two countries. The visit, which coincides with Jamaica's emancipation and independence celebrations, is expected to strengthen diplomatic, economic, and cultural cooperation between the two nations. During his stay, President Mahama will receive full state honors hold bilateral talks with Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, address a joint sitting of Parliament, participate in commemorative activities, and meet with members of the Ghanaian community and other key stakeholders as both countries seek to deepen collaboration in trade, investment, education, tourism, and other areas of mutual interest. Dr. Holness and President Mahama held bilateral talks today at Jamaica House. Let's take a look at what transpired.
Our two nations stand together on either side of the Atlantic for the dignity, justice, and historical truth that Garvey so forcefully championed. Mr. President, your visit solidifies the long-standing diplomatic relationship between our two countries. It builds on several high-level engagements at the bilateral level between our two foreign ministers, which have resulted in the signing of an agreement for the recruitment of health professionals from the Republic of Ghana and a memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation, as well as the updating of the agreement on arts and culture. The health cooperation agreement is already reaping benefits with the anticipated arrivals of nurses to support Jamaica's healthcare system. We expect to expand our relations to include deepened cooperation in health, education, tourism, and air services, the parameters of which we discussed extensively today. And I must say, Mr. President, I'm particularly pleased of the discussions as it relates to air services agreements, the expansion of tourism, and indeed I'm hopeful that in the very near future we could see direct flights from Accra to Montego Bay. In addition, as Jamaica seeks to strengthen its commercial and investment ties with Ghana as part of a broader engagement with continental Africa, the Virtual Investment and New Market Ministerial Business Mission, which was held last month, would have connected many Jamaican companies and companies in Ghana. And we are seeing results already in areas of logistics, tourism, hospitality, agro-processing, ICT, fintech, and the creative industries. We have observed that fintech are growing services in Ghana, and we are observing how that ecosystem is growing, and we can learn in Jamaica as to how that ecosystem is expanding in Ghana. It is in this context, Mr. President, that we are happy that you will also be visiting our port, the Port of Kingston, in the same way as Ghana is expanding your own ports and logistic operations to become the gateway for West Africa. Jamaica is also expanding our ports and logistics operation to be the gateway of the Caribbean and Latin America. By potentially connecting our ports, we could give exporters and investors on both sides of the Atlantic a more efficient route to new markets. We can make it easier for our Ghanaian exporter to reach the Caribbean and the Americas, and easier for a Jamaican exporter to reach Africa.
The Prime Minister there, Dr. Andrew Holness. Of course, the bilateral meeting there, the gathering heard from the President of Ghana as well. Let's take a listen.
That acknowledge the solidarity shown,
accepted and duly acknowledged as the 7th region of Africa. And so it allows the Caribbean to CARICOM to sit in AU meetings and to hold discussions affecting Africa and the Caribbean in AU meetings. And so I think that has been a major step forward. When I was speaking with Mr. Prime Minister, I said that one of the things that I would champion when I become AU chair next year, Ghana is assuming the chair of the African Union next year, is to expand the remit of the African Continental Free Trade Area to include the Caribbean. We've set up the African Continental Free Trade Area that allows us to export goods duty-free and tariff-free into each other's markets. That's a 1.4 billion population market, and that also is a 1.3 trillion GDP economy. And so we can plug the Caribbean in so that we can exchange goods between Africa and the Caribbean duty-free, tariff-free. And so that's one of the proposals that I'll take up in my chairmanship. And then with regards to the issue of reparations, I'll combine that with the last question about how the resolution was received and what the next steps are. We held the Next Steps conference after the UNGA. Indeed, before the resolution was voted on, there were fears that we would not be able to get the necessary votes to pass it. And so at the last minute, some people reached out to us, some of our partners from Europe, and that's why we don't step down the resolution and carry out some more consultation before we move it, because their intelligence shows that we'll not be able to get the majority of countries to endorse the resolution. We did our groundwork, we did our consultation, and we realized that their intelligence was wrong. And so we went ahead, and happily 123 countries endorsed the resolution, which has been one of the most overwhelmingly endorsed resolutions that has appeared on the floor of the General Assembly. It has been taken well. I noticed that there was a lot of apprehension before the moving of the resolution. But after the resolution was moved, the response is beginning to become positive, even from countries that abstained from voting. There are several European countries that abstained from voting. But after the resolution, they have reached out and said, look, we want a discussion on this. We want to be a part of, what is happening. And so, France, for instance, have acted positively. They had the Code Noir that was related with slavery. They repealed it, and they've taken certain steps. When we held the Next Steps conference, President Macron asked to be able to speak, and he spoke. We allowed him to give the perspectives of France in respect of, what the next steps are after the UN General Assembly resolution. At the Next Steps conference, the Dutch were there, and they came and gave us an album of artifacts that they had taken out of Africa during the slavery and colonial period. And they gave us an album and said that they are willing to return these artifacts. The Germans, the same. They gave us an album with artifacts that they had found in their archives that they were willing to return to Africa. The Catholic Church, for the first time, apologized for the papal bulls that they issued that gave the theological backing to the enslavement of Africans. The Church of England, the Archbishop of Canterbury was in Ghana recently, visited the Cape Coast Castle, and issued an apology for the slave trade, and also offered a restitution of £100 million to be put into a slavery fund. So we can see some positive responses, even from those who did not support the resolution. And so I believe that we somehow are on the right track.
The voice there of the President of Ghana, John Mahama. And of course, that's where we have to bring those excerpts from the state visit to Jamaica to a close. And that's also where we have to end things tonight for Lead Story. At the top of the hour, it's the best news in the country, CVM News.
a play, and the people never say we are mash up the dance.